Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Amityville Union Free School District Board of Education meeting, the work monthly meeting, November 1st, 2023. I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:33 p.m. Present at the meeting right now is myself, President Lisa Johnson, the Superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot, First Vice President Jeanette Santos, Trustee Dave Pella, Trustee Leslie Kretz, and Trustee Juan Moore, as well as Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operation, Elizabeth Watson, and Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Dr. Wade, and First Vice President, Carol Seahawk. Also present as well is so our district clerk is no longer here, so we don't have a district clerk at this point in time. Can I have a motion to go into executive session at 5:34?
So second.
Hold on. For particular person's employment history, as well as review of a district clerk consultant agreement. And the Board of Education will go back into open when we go to do our audit committee and then come back and do our audit committee as well. So there'll also be an audit committee to do an update. Are we doing an audit committee?
No, we are hearing for the audit committee will be next week.
Okay, all right, so there will be no audit committee, I apologize. So that's the motion. I heard Dave Pella as first, Leslie Kretz as second. So once again, we're going to executive session for a particular person's employment history, as well as discussion of consultant agreement for the district clerk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Perry Fulton is out sick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Amityville work meeting dated November 1st, 2023. The time is 7:37, resuming back out and open. The Board of Education met in executive session at starting at 5:33 this evening to discuss particular person's employment history, as well as getting a report from our capital market advisors. At this point in time, I need to note, in the likely event of emergency, you need to note the exit at a clay mark. Take a moment to note the exit nearest to where you're seated. Smoke is not allowed at the school ground. As a courtesy, please turn off all your cell phones. And please join the Board of Education in the Pledge of Allegiance. Board of Education, as a reminder, please speak into the mics whenever you are voting, you have a comment. When people are listening at home, they cannot hear the votes and they cannot hear our comments. So just as a reminder. Going to the public hearing, the district-wide safety and emergency management plan has been on the website for 30 days. And at this point in time, there's also copies that are in the back of the room. If any communities have had the opportunity to review the plan, and if they have any questions or comments about the plan, please feel free to email using the district clerk email, and I will give you that email in just a few minutes. So any comments or questions about the district-wide safety emergency plan? Once again, if you have any comments or questions, please email that information utilizing the district clerk email. So at this point in time, if there's any community input regarding board agenda items only, any community input regarding board agenda items only at this time. You just give your name and address to Ms. Watson. So, just bear with me because I'm the timekeeper. So,
Wendy Canestro. Yes, it's, my comments are about this district-wide safety emergency plan. First of all, the one that you're distributing is from June 2022. It's not the updated one. So this is not updated.
It's not the back. I just put
It's not updated. It's not the same one as the one that you have online because, I have a couple of things to say about this. Okay, let me go through it first.
so I just kind of pause it for a second, just for clarification. Are you saying the one that in the back of the room is not correct, or the one
That's
that?
correct. The one that you have online says updated September 23. This says updated June 22. This is a year old.
That's the one that's online, you're stating?
No, the one online is September 23.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is June 22. I hope you're not going to take
No,
that
no,
out of my
I'm-
minutes.
I
Okay.
have you paused. That's why I was just trying to get the clarification. All
Okay,
right,
so
thank-
this isn't up to date. This isn't the correct one.
Okay,
Okay, a couple of things I have to say about this. The state mandates that it is supposed to be adopted and submitted to the state, to state ed by September 1st. That didn't happen. The building plan is supposed to be submitted by October 1st. That didn't happen. They do not permit for exemptions or waivers. So again, Amityville is behind the 8 ball. I don't know why we can't adhere to deadlines. You're supposed to allow 30 days for public comments prior to the hearing. So you had the hearing just now. But when you say write to the district clerk for 30 days, there's supposed to be an email or something that any community member can reach out with suggestions or questions. That conduit was not provided. So that was not provided. So that is not in compliance. The regulation comments are very different from the Board of Ed comments. It's not like, hey, come to this meeting and give us your comments. It's supposed to be 30 continual days open for comments from the community. And there's a lot of people in this community that might have something to add to this. You know, we have a lot of smart people here that can contribute. I did not see a district-wide safety and emergency plan committee put together. I saw there's a safety committee that you put in at the reorg meeting, but that's different. That's not this. And there's supposed to be parents on that, not just 1 or 2 parents. It's supposed to be, you know, a few parents on there. You would want the Amityville Police Department, the Amityville Fire Department on there. These are all great resources that you would want on this committee to know what the emergency plan is. I mean, that benefits us. Your most important job is to keep all the students and staff safe at the end of the day. The other thing is there's a new component this year that they never had before, and that is you're supposed to have emergency plan for remote learning. I'm not sure if you guys know that, but that's what you're supposed to have this year. The one online doesn't have any specifics of what your plan is. It's supposed to be how will you handle special ed kids if it's remote, all these different things that is supposed to be implemented. It's not on there. What is on there is a cut and paste from the guidelines from state ed. So if you look at it and review it, you'll see that those specifics are not on there, and it's required. It was required by September 1st, but that's not in there. So that's not happening, and that's not in compliance either. I can't express enough how important this plan is. It's in case there's an emergency. We are in uncertain times right now. There could be terrorist threats. There could be a blackout. There was a pandemic. Like, the plan needs to be in place and everybody needs to know it. So that's why it's important to get it on time, and it needs to be complete and accurate. So I just have to say, like, the timeline for this, districts have a best practice, right? And they'll have a timeline. They usually start in April. They'll say you do this in June, or you have the hearing in July, it's review in August, and then you adopt it in September. This is annual. It's not new. Everybody does it. Every district does it. It's nothing new. I'm sure Dr. Talbot knows about it too. And this is, yeah.
I'm sorry. Your time is up. I never started the 3 minutes, but I went by the 15 minutes.
Okay, I just have one question then to end it with. Who is on this district-wide safety emergency plan committee? When did they meet, and when was it presented to the board?
Okay, thank you. Dr. Talbot, is that anything you'll be able to answer now? Okay. Thank you. Any other comments regarding agenda items? Right, moving forward, I'm going to go to agenda item 2B1 and 2. So the policy committee met. When the policy committee met, we reviewed 4 different policies. 2 of those policies are here for first reading only. And I'm going to start with policy 6240 in regards to investments. And just to let you know what was recommended for a change, let me just get my other notes from the policy committee meeting. Just give me 1 second. At the policy committee meeting, it was myself, Ms. Santos, as well as Ms. Seehoff, Dr. Talbert, and Ms. Buatsi was in the meeting as well. So I'm just trying to get my notes to give you a clear explanation about what occurred, what recommended changes we have. So the Board of Education has received those recommended changes from that particular meeting. Once again, this is just the first reading for these 2 policies. So for policy 6240 in the regulation, the recommended changes, one is under conditions, and legal gave their feedback as well, and they added in accordance with conditions of section A. And then on the second page of 6240R was the regulation. There was some added language that was provided by legal counsel. So just please take a note, review the 6240R from the previous year as well as from this year for recommended changes. And once again, this is just the first reading. And then for policy number 6830R, which is a regulation, the recommendation that was provided was just to increase the daily total for meals to $75 because it had not been looked at, had not been changed in several years. So those are the 2 recommendations for those 2 policies. We also did look at policy 9150, and that is just now under review with legal. And then the last policy that we did look at was 6910, which was use of facilities. And for that particular policy, there was a discussion that occurred with that policy in regards to the possibility of charging a fee for the use of our facilities. In that particular discussion that occurred at that policy meeting, there was a mention out as possible fees that could occur. One thing that we did speak about at the policy meeting, was that the district needed to speak to all individuals who use the facilities, whether it's the fields or our buildings, to get feedback from the stakeholders so they would be aware of the possible implementation of the use of facilities fee, that if we did it, it would be in 2024. So that was part of a discussion that we had. There was no decision that was made about whether or not a fee was actually going to be charged, because when it comes to the policy, when we have the meeting, we will bring recommendations back to the board. The board has to read it, and the board has to approve it or not approve it. So it was part of a discussion that occurred. In regards to the policy committee, we have met, last year we met several times, and we went through policies 1,000 to 4,000, and I believe 8,000 and 9,000 as well in terms of reviewing policy. So that's in regards to the policy for our policy committee meeting that occurred. There's no vote that takes place. Does any board members have any questions about these 2 policies that were reviewed and discussed at the policy committee meeting? Right, seeing none, I will move forward to, now we're going to go over to the November 8th meeting. Okay, everyone has the agenda for November 8th. All right, any questions or comments regarding the approval of minutes? Just one thing that I do want to point out is that the minutes for October 4th are not there. What's been provided to us are not the correct minutes. We will get updates in our minutes for October 4th meeting, so they need to be corrected. So the October 4th, what's listed on the agenda, it's not the correct minutes. We will get an update of those particular minutes. In regards to the minutes, I did not see any additional changes that need to be addressed. At the meeting next week, we will have a second reading for the two policies that I just spoke about, 6240R and 6830R. Any questions in regards to the process? Just so everyone knows, as a community, when it comes to the policies, there is a first reading that occurs. Then there's a second reading that occurs, and there's a third reading. After the third reading, that's when the policy is voted on. There are times that after the first reading, it could be a first and final reading for a particular policy, and also could occur at the second reading as well. The district-wide safety emergency management plan, that would be voted on next week. Going to the personnel action report. Any questions or comments from the board regarding the personnel action report? See none. Any questions about the personnel action report? Going down to 3C 1 through 5. Any questions about those agenda items? I did have one question in regards to donations, in regards to just kind of clarify about the donation for the ring for the soccer team. Just if you can kind of clarify that, because there was no backup for that one.
I'll ask Ms. Buatsi to elaborate on that for us.
Yes, we received donations a while ago for the championship ring, but it did not cover the sales tax. So we have to go back and request for more money to cover the sales tax. And one individual was willing to pay for it, so because it's taxable.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions regarding 3C2, 3C3, 3C4, or use of facilities?
President Johnson, can I ask a question?
Yes.
If it's all right, can there be a brief explanation on C2 and 3 concerning the budget transfers?
Dr. Talbot?
Yes, I'll ask Ms. Buatsi to elaborate on those two budget transfers, 1 and 2.
I think I brought that to the attention of the board previously regarding an expense that I received from the 2020-21 school year, that a previous administrator requested for some items that were shipped to the district without a purchase order. And we just received the invoice that we have to pay for. So I need to cover the cost of those items.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, was that the explanation for 1 and 2?
I'm trying to look for the number 2.
Thank you.
Oh, we also received increase in title,
Ms. Watson?
Session 11 fees, which was very unusual this year. And we have to increase the budget. There wasn't enough money budgeted in the code for it. And that was the $24,000.
Okay, thank you.
Reminder for everyone, when you go to speak, you just
Yes.
have to speak
sorry.
directly to the
I'm so-
microphone because, yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Actually, the treasurer and the treasurer fees was a mistake.
Just-
So the treasurer fees, the $25,000 for the fees that we got was exactly what our fiscal advisor had told us about. That was for the Moody's investment services when we go for town borrowing and it's above a certain number, a certain amount of money. We do a Moody's rating and Moody's does charge us for it. And this year, the fee was about $25,000.
any other questions regarding these transfer items? Any other questions regarding agenda items 3C, 4, or 5? Right. Moving on to agenda item 3D1. Any questions regarding agenda item 3D1? Moving on, any questions regarding agenda items 3E1 through 3? Any questions regarding agenda items 3F1? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to go back to the November 1st agenda. Going to agenda item 3B1. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B1? Jeanette Santos is first.
Second.
Leslie Kretz is second. Any questions regarding agenda item 3B1, which is the personnel action report? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 5-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3F1, please?
Okay,
moved.
second.
That's the first, Mr. Leon?
I think Ms. Kretz was first.
I'm sorry. Leslie Kretz was first and Juan Leon is second. Any questions regarding conferences and travel? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion, Ms. Santos?
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0. Dr. Talbot? Do you have anything to report?
Sure. Superintendent's report to the school board and our community. I am pleased to provide an update on recent events and initiatives within our school district. We have had several positive developments in the past few weeks that I would like to highlight. First, the Hispanic Breast Cancer Awareness and Family Fall Nights have been exceptional. These events showcased outstanding student performances and were well attended by our diverse community. The success of these evenings reflects the collaborative spirit of our district and the commitment of our staff, student scholars, and families. Our homecoming parade was a great success as well, bringing joy and unity to our community. It was heartwarming to see so many students, parents, and community members come together to celebrate our school spirit and pride. I am also pleased to report that the superintendent and leadership team learning walks have been successful. These walkthroughs have provided valuable insights into teacher-student engagement and the overall learning environment. We have observed glimpses of exceptional engagement that inspire us to continue improving our educational practices. Our administrative team has been diligently meeting, participating in data training, and planning for the future. The efforts of our administrators ensure that our schools are well prepared to meet the evolving needs of our student scholars in the community. The district-wide committees are doing remarkable work, fostering innovation and improvement in various aspects of our educational system. Their dedication and efforts are greatly appreciated. In addition, our facilities department has been making continuous upgrades to our school buildings. These enhancements contribute to the safety and well-being of our students and staff, and they reflect our commitment to providing a conducive learning environment. A special thanks to our construction liaison trustee, Dave Heller, Ms. Buatsi, Fred Metzer, and the middle school administrative staff for viewing the specs and plans before they are submitted and finalized to SED. Our boys varsity soccer team has been competing extremely well. Although we didn't win the playoff game today against Kings Park, we consider our scholar athletes winners. They remain our star warriors, and we salute their skill, toughness, and resilience throughout the season. And thank you, Dr. Lang, for representing us today at the playoff game. Lastly, I am excited to announce that Superintendent's Conference Day is scheduled for November 7th. Training opportunities will be available for all staff members. Our Professional Development Committee has done a superb job of presenting valuable opportunities, partnerships, and growth for all of our staff on this day. In conclusion, it has been a period of positive developments and fruitful collaboration within our school district. I want to express my gratitude to our staff, students, families, and community for their unwavering support and commitment to our shared educational goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Any community input regarding non-agenda items at this time? If you have something to say, just, we don't have the cards for tonight. If you could give your name to Ms. Buatsi, I would appreciate it. And when you just come to speak, bear with me because I'm the timekeeper as well, so.
Okay,
So,
not a problem.
are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. I'd like to say welcome to Dr. Talbert. I think we've met before, and I think we may have worked together in the past, but I'm trying to rack my brain. I'm going to figure it out, though. Quick question. The documents supporting the finance section with the resolutions, isn't that something that we should have? The numbers, it should be part of the agenda. The public needs to see the numbers, not just hear them. We can't ask intelligent agenda questions if we don't have the actual finances that's being discussed.
Are you talking about for the November 8th meeting?
No, I'm talking about like before. When you asked a question about one
Oh,
of the
that-
items.
I'm sorry, that,
What are you talking about and where is this information? It's public money.
all right, so that's that's November 8th agenda, so yes, that information should be provided and we'll make sure that it'll be there.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. I was a little, I lost my
It may,
track.
it may
Just
be,
looking for it.
it,
Okay.
it may be, I'm not too sure, because some of the information was uploaded already
Okay.
by Christian, which
Um,
was yesterday, so I'm not too sure if that was uploaded or not, but if not, we'll
Okay.
put it up that way.
Just a comment on the building use. I watched the meeting, and heard the discussions. I would just be very cautious. My input would be to be very cautious. The community is beyond burdened on so many levels, taxes, grocery store, everything. You're gonna go to the Girl Scouts and ask them for money? with their budget, they're gonna have to raise their membership dues. You raise their membership dues, and then the Girl Scouts now, who come from our community, mom's got to go buy a gallon of milk and pay Girl Scout dues that are now going to be increased. We have to be very sensitive. A school district with a massive budget can make a little bit of wiggle room for the children that it serves and not charge. I understand employees that have to be available and maintenance and all of that. We get that. But you got to pick and choose. And I don't think it should be on the children because their parents have to pay these somewhere. So that's my input on that. The policy manual that gets updated every 2 years. Now you just had a policy meeting with the 4 topics. So is that in the last 2 years, those are the only policies? So there'll be more meetings coming up? Because your policy says it'll be reviewed every 2 years.
I'm just pausing. So to answer 2 things. One is with the 6910 policy use of facilities. That was a discussion that we had. And at the end, we said that if we would implement the fee, that would be in 2024. One of the key things that we did say in that meeting that we had to speak with all our community stakeholders that use the facility, as well as share the information back with the Board of Education. So that's the process that's taking place now, that they're reaching out to all the individuals who have used our facilities indoors and outdoors to get their feedback. So we can have an idea as a Board of Education, what we're going to do moving forward. In regards to your answer with the policy committee, we did meet last year, and if I recall correctly, it was the 1,000 to 4,000 series as well as the 8 and 9, and everything should be updated and should be updated online. If it's not there, then I will follow up and make sure that it is updated. But we did go through definitely all those policies to just
Okay.
review.
All right, let me just grab my phone. Okay. I apologize. Okay, so one of my important, most passionate about as being a prior school board member is the superintendent's evaluation. And this has nothing to do with Dr. Talbert. I'm talking to the board. I asked about it in July of 22. And the answer was, well, we have to have a policy meeting. And I was like, what? Yeah, you did say that. And then we foiled for a recent superintendent evaluation and we were told none exist. I'm asking seasoned board members who didn't just get elected, when was the last time a superintendent evaluation was actually done? A superintendent's evaluation is the single most important #1 job any school board member does. If you have an interim, if you have somebody that might be leaving, you still have to do these things. The district has to set superintendent goals. The superintendent goals is what drives the school budget. It's what drives staffing, curriculum. It's the only thing that you guys really should be looking at and worrying about. As a school board president, I could tell you the superintendent evaluation is the most, and I'm sure if any of you have done them in the past, it's a monumental task. There are checkpoints every couple of months. There are community presentations of these district superintendent goals. District goals are different. They're global. Superintendent goals are focused. They have points where, you know, you set a goal and the superintendent has to rise to it. They're measurable. They're attainable. They're not I want to raise grades 30%. That's not, you got to be attainable. I'd really like to hear when this is actually done. Has it been done? I know you want to talk and
No,
I
I'm just,
want to hear the wonderful things that you're going to tell us.
no, but I don't mean to cut you off, but the timer ended. So
Okay.
I was trying to wait till you
Okay.
kind of got a pause.
Okay, well, that's basically because again, it drives the district in the year and everything goes back to the goal. In the budget, in everything, requests, it goes back to the superintendent's goal.
So to answer your question, for the 2 years that Dr. Fail was here, there was no evaluation that was done on Dr. Fail. For Dr. Talbot, we do have a tool. We're going to use the New York State School Board Association. We'll be meeting. A part of our retreat is exactly that, is setting the goal. Dr. Talbot just started here on August 1st. As we move forward, as it was done years ago, those goals and whatnot were established during the summer months, actually started in June, was established. So therefore, once the school year started, everything was in place. Everything that you said is exactly true. And that's what we are working towards as a board of education as we move forward. We all recognize it. We understand completely that this is something that is very important that we have to do, and we have to do it. Two things. One, it needs to be set up before the school year starts, so we know what the goals are. So the superintendent knows what her goals are, as well as the cabinet, and who's going to provide that data to assess those goals that have been established. So yes, it will, when we do our retreat in November the 14th, that's a part of it. So yes, that and everything will be shared with the community, what the goals are going to be and everything.
Okay, I think that would be a very good positive. Okay,
Thank you for your questions.
oh, thank you. And the board retreat? Can I just give you just one little thing? Tiny?
Go ahead.
A lot of times if we hear, and I do watch the videos from home, when we hear things like we discussed or we agreed, we're not hearing it in public. So when you start a sentence with we agreed or we discussed or we talked about it and the topic isn't protected, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Thank you. Any other community comments regarding non-agenda items?
A couple of quick questions,
Just
to
hold
clarify.
on 1 second, because I got to do the timing. Just give me one. Go ahead.
Just a couple of quick questions. I just want some clarification. Ms. Canastro said something about missing deadlines on two of the emergency planning and safety issues. Is that correct?
Dr. Talbot, is that something that you can address about missing deadlines for the district-wide?
The district-wide safety and emergency
management
plan.
Yes, she
About-
said one deadline was missed for September 1st and another one was missed for October 1st. I'm asking the board and yourself if that's correct.
We will double check those dates.
You're talking our kids' safety. So I would assume that we wouldn't be missing a deadline on something like that, and you would definitely know if an emergency safety plan was in place due to the deadline.
Yes, what we have now was not submitted by a September 1st deadline.
Or an October
Um,
1st deadline for another plan.
I'm not sure what other plan you're speaking of.
All right, so what we will do, we will find out
Excuse
and
me,
we'll
one
get back to,
second.
so I'm sorry, but when,
What, we're on a time deadline? I
no,
understand.
no,
That's
what
2
I,
minutes,
no,
my
I did,
time.
no, I just paused you. I'm just, every time there's conversations, I try to pause it just to make sure you have your full time.
Our
So what,
superintendent didn't know what the other plan was for an emergency action or building safety plan or something, so I'm assuming that you would be want to know what the plan that we missed was, so she can address it, correct?
I was asking you for clarity as to
Right,
what
and-
plan you were referencing.
That's why I was asking her, because
so what,
the building,
So-
excuse me for 1 second, Ms. Johnson.
no, just 1 second, just so
they
you know,
answer-
just 1 second. So what happens is when someone's at the mic, what we asked you is just directed to us and not to the
Okay,
audience
well, somebody
members.
who did, or somebody recording the minutes? Because then we can ask him what the plan was.
No, so what happens is you direct a question to me and I give it
Okay, so
to,
any
to
of the
the
board,
superintendent.
well, and then any of the board members would also be aware of missed deadlines. So they can probably tell you what the second one that was missed was. They would know their job.
Same.
So at this, let me just pause it. Hold on a second. So I'm just pausing it. I'm sorry. I'm
Understand?
trying,
You
I'm
can pause
trying.
it as much as you want.
No,
I'm just
no.
trying to find out what the
No.
second one that was missed was.
No, what it's nothing with you. I'm trying to make sure that
It's okay.
I'm trying to make sure that when you're at the mic that you get your full time.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to do, as well as hear what
Right.
you're saying as well. So to answer your question, I believe that and I don't want to speak for Dr. Talbot. I don't.
Mr. Heller is saying something, so if he can address it into the microphone.
So-
Wonderful.
So what I'm saying is that we will find out.
No, he
What the-
was
what-
talking, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Heller was saying something, so if he can address it into the microphone, he can probably clarify the situation.
All right, so what I'm going to say is that just for one thing is that I don't know the exact deadline. I'm being very honest. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the exact deadline.
You guys,
It is stated in the back of the document, but I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember what's off the
Right.
top of my head. So that's number one. Dr. Talbot was looking at the deadline, and I believe it's in the back of the document, but I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. So
okay,
I don't know. I'm not too sure. Mr. Heller, it was anything that you wanted to add to this or no?
Well, no, the only thing was.
Just, if you're going to speak, just speak into the
Uh,
mic, please.
Just that the district-wide safety emergency management plan was updated September 2023, when is actually when it was to be voted on. And we've had some delays on different things and we're just working on it now, but the actual plan has been in place. Safety of the children has been protected and the staff as well. This is kind of a formality that goes, before the board on making decisions or not making decisions, but the formal vote. So, but it was
What
already
was
adopted.
it 2 deadlines that were missed?
No. No, just again, on a vote that we're doing on it. Yeah, but the plan is basically in place now. So
Okay,
there's no
so-
safety concerns. If that's
So
what you're concerned.
does that plan have to be presented to New York State or federal? Is it something that gets approved by somebody?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check further on that. I'm not exactly sure the procedures. A lot of procedures that happen.
Oh, I'm sure there are, but I'm addressing this to Dr. Talbot because she's been a superintendent before. So I would assume she would know these procedures, correct?
So the plan does not have to be submitted, does not have to be presented to anyone on the state level. The plan has to be collaboratively developed by a committee, and then it has to be posted for public comment for a period of 30 days. Embedded in the plan must be a plan of continued instruction for remote learning. And to my knowledge, that is embedded in the plan that is posted on the website. I heard Ms. Canestro's comments. I made notes so that I can certainly go back to look at the information and concerns and give her an appropriate response. In terms of 2 deadlines, I'm not familiar with 2 deadlines. I'm familiar with the remote plan being a part of the district-wide safety and response plan.
Right. I'm also sure that just besides the remote learning, it'd be safety, God forbid, of, anything, terrorism, attack. I heard yesterday the school was shut down. Things like that would all be part of the plan, correct? For the safety of the kids?
There are several components that are a part of the plan.
Okay.
And our safety team, as well as the committee that helped to put the plan together, have thoroughly reviewed all of those items.
Okay, so it'll be finalized by a certain date?
It's finalized pending feedback from the community. And so tonight, we've had some questions posed to us. We're going to go back to review those questions give an appropriate response, and make any adjustments that may be necessary.
Okay. Next question. I have one more question. That was it. You referred to 3C2 as a budget transfer.
Yeah.
Could you make us aware of what it was actually for? You said it was a former administrator that ordered things. Was it school supplies, or was an administrator ordering stuff outside of the scope of what was district?
Oh, no, school supplies, science supplies.
Just speaking
Science
to the mic.
supplies,
What was it? I'm sorry.
science supplies and materials.
Okay. And what was that amount for?
That one was for $110,000.
$110,000 for science supplies? And that doesn't seem excessive to anyone to get an invoice after? How much time was between the time it was ordered? $110,000 to fall through the cracks is a lot of money. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a rich person. You know, 110 grand is a lot of money. No?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
So-
Nobody
So-
on the,
So
what year,
just,
what year was this from?
so I think we just make him aware of the year that this
This was
purchase-
from 2020. The year 2020, that was when,
So just for clarification, it was ordered in 2020, all right? The bill did not come to us until this year, like maybe a month ago. That's when we received the bill for these items. So just as you are shocked about
Some-
this bill, we are shocked as well.
So somebody somebody had to sign off and approve this, correct? A purchase for $110,000, there had to be a PO. And
no,
There
that was the point.
That was the problem.
There was no PO.
There was no PO.
most of you guys have been up here more than a year, right?
So yes, we all have been up here for more than a year. The 2020 was somewhere between
Does
May and June of 2020 that purchase was made. So when it comes to, oh shoot, I didn't pause it. Sorry.
So
I can't-
what
I
I'm
can't
gonna say is, and I'm gonna use a term that would be used by a military person, so to speak. If you're walking the point, you're in charge of your people and their responsibilities. So you are held culpable for them. So if you guys have been up here for more than since 2020, or anyone that's been up there, I would personally hold you responsible for things that go on.
I
And you should-
understand.
And rightfully so, be ashamed of yourselves that you're not benefiting our children or doing your job as what you seem fit to be up there to be doing. You're taking in awards and patting yourselves on the back, and our kids are not getting the education they deserve. They're not getting the safety they deserve. They're not getting what they're entitled to. And now you have $110,000 mistake that was going to get swept under the carpet if nobody even asked.
So just for clarification, one, the time ran out, but I will say to you, just for one quick moment,
Go ahead.
that amount that we just became aware of, sometimes when an individual orders supplies that is high enough in the chain, it does not always get down to the board level. So we just
Okay.
became aware of this purchase. We just became aware of the fact
You
that it was
guys,
not,
you guys could all look yourself in the mirror and think you're doing a
we
good job.
we did not know, we had no idea whatsoever that this purchase occurred and that it
How
had
much
not
other
been paid.
stuff do you not know of what's going on, Ms. Johnson?
It's not a matter of us not knowing. Sometimes is if someone's at a level that they can pay for it, I mean, they can order it, and not everything that's ordered may not always make it to us.
I
So
understand that,
Right.
but how much other stuff are you missing?
hopefully, sir,
You
nothing
guys,
else.
You guys are
Yeah.
turning around. I'm
So-
hearing stories of, if a 55's passing grades on stuff. That's unacceptable.
Right.
Our kids deserve better than that.
You're right. So
And me as a taxpayer and a business owner and a homeowner deserve better.
so thank you
Because
so much.
we have a large amount of this population of
agree.
Amityville send their kids to private school. Their quality of life would be better if they didn't have to fork out $20,000 a year to send their kids here. If this district would finally take responsibility for what you're doing.
Thank you. I allowed you to continue. And I didn't want to cut you off. Thank you. This is not going to work with me trying to do the timer and whatnot. It's not, yeah.
Wendy Canestro.
Right.
I do have to say that was quite, yeah.
Just hold on one second. I
Sure.
just want to pass the timer on to someone else. 'Cause it's
Okay,
not-
but you know what? You just allowed them to go way over, so I hope you're not going to cut me off at the
No,
3 minutes
I'm
when you didn't
not.
do that.
I'm
Okay,
not. I'm just passing it over because I'm trying to hear
okay.
what people are saying. And I have not been able to stop it, start it, stop it and
I
start it. So this is the first time that I'm trying to do this as well as hearing, and it's not
I hope you're
working
getting
out.
a district clerk soon.
And it's not working out. So Juan's going to take it over for me.
Okay,
So
I
Go
think
ahead.
you'll be okay.
thank you.
Okay, I have to address what just happened here. In your own district-wide safety emergency plan, it states the deadline is September 1st to be submitted. So I have no idea why everybody's saying they don't know what the deadline is. It's in your own plan. It must be submitted to state ed. That is the district-wide safety plan. The building safety plan deadline is October 1st. Amityville failed to meet them both. Whoever is in charge of that did not meet the deadline, okay? And as the board, your oversight, so you should know this. And this has been in place for 10 years. This is nothing new. It's done annually. Somebody dropped the ball. But again, to Jim's point, the buck does stop with you, so you then have to hold your administrators accountable. So I have to say that. To say that it doesn't have to be submitted and it's in place, and no, it has to be submitted and it has to be approved, right? The lawmakers, the New York State lawmakers put this together, and then in turn, New York State has this as part of school law too. So to educate the community and the board who doesn't know, you did miss deadlines, and you got to stop missing deadlines. I mean, it's crazy you guys keep doing this. It's all self-inflicted wounds. I do hope that you're going to get back to me with the answers of who's on the district-wide safety emergency plan and when did they meet? And there's supposed to be minutes of that. So I would like you to get back to me with that. A couple of questions is, why is there no draft agenda? There was no discussion that you were going to stop doing that. You always included the draft agenda. To the other speaker's points, we can't follow along when it's not in here. Before, we easily referenced it. So somewhere along the line, you made a decision not in public to not include draft agenda. What?
Guys,
Oh, okay.
let's just
I don't know
pause
what
it for
you're
a
saying.
second. Just pause for a second. When someone is at the mic, please limit any comments. So therefore the person at the mic can have the ability to speak, right? So
Thank you.
thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, I'm always willing to listen, but yes, thank you. A couple of things you said is about, and also I wouldn't approve that. The board should not approve that plan unless the specifics of remote learning are in there. They're not in there. All it is a copy and paste of the guidelines. You can't pass it without it. You're not in compliance. The second thing is you spoke about the policy committee. I was at that meeting. I was very happy to see that you held it. I've been coming to meetings for 4 years. The policy committee has never met in 4 years. That was the first time. But you started that meeting with a comment, and you just said the comment again here today, that the policy committee met several times last year, went through the 1,000s, 4,000s, 8,000, and 9,000s. That never happened in public. There was no notice of a public committee meeting. The public was not aware nor attended. And I do just have to remind you, the door was locked when I came in. So next time, if you can make sure that it's not locked. To your point that there is always a first reading and a second reading of policies, that's correct. That should be happening. However, in August of this past year, during a meeting, you amended the policy public portion of the public comments portion policy at an August meeting. The policy was not on the agenda. There was not a first reading. There was not a second reading or an adoption. You just randomly did that at the end of an August meeting. So you violated your own policy and what you just said. So I would like to point that out. As far as what,
So
Oh.
the-
okay, I'm almost done, honestly. The other thing is about the facility use. I agree. I think that's something you should consider. If it's 51% of home district residents, children or adults, you usually best practice is you don't charge because that's double taxation. We own these fields, these facilities, so we shouldn't be paying for them double. And the last thing that I want to address is I actually went to review a meeting that I didn't attend, and I noticed there was no video. I did write to the board and the superintendent. The superintendent was nice enough to answer me, and I appreciate that, Dr. Talbot, that you do get back to people. I am very appreciative of that. That has not always happened. I will say that it is suspicious that it stopped July at the reorg meeting. There was no discussion to stop it. I know you cited technical difficulties, but we have Land Rover, the sub contractor that does this. I know it's up now. I hope it's going to be, videotaped and archived. I'm able to do it on my iPhone and upload, no problem. So technical difficulties seems like a pretty lame excuse. But it is really for transparency, for people to be able to refer to it, to watch it at their leisure. Most households have two parents working and they have sports and events, and people want to stay informed. And as a board, you should want more engagement with the community. So I would like to know, is this being videotaped? Will it be uploaded and will it be archived tonight?
To answer your question, yes. So two things. One, the video recording of the meetings did not stop in July. We actually went back and we realized it was in January when I would go and check to see if the meetings were being recorded. What would happen is I would just open up and think that it was recorded. But when you look all the way through, it was not being recorded all the way through. So that's number one. It did not stop in July. We went all the way back. It started in January of 2023 when it actually
There were
occurred.
some that had a little
So-
bit back and
So
forth.
it was in January that it stopped. So Dr. Talbot met with our technical people, and I may not have the right names, and Director of Technology, as well as the gentleman AP who works it. And they figured out what was wrong and why it was not being recorded. That was number one. Then we also addressed the fact that we wanted a better view. So the Director of Technology came down, set up the different setup, but there's going to be other stands that will be brought that will address that particular issue. And the videotaping will continue. Also, the goal, please don't quote me on it. I think it's 48 hours after, either 48 to 72 hours after the meeting that the posting will be placed. I may be wrong. I'm not too sure if it's 48 or 72 is in that particular time. So yes, it will continue.
Oh, one other thing I just want to say about the Director of Technology, you just said that. We don't have a Director of Technology. We have like the subcontractor Land Rover, correct?
Right.
But on the district-wide state emergency management plan, the Director of Technology is listed as a critical contact. So the person who was in that role before quit in November 2022, and the district has not looked to hire anybody in that position. So it's identified as one of the most critical contacts, and we don't have that. I know you're using the sub, but why isn't the district hiring somebody in that role?
So just for clarification, I can't talk about personnel, but the person did not quit. There's more behind that, but. the
Okay,
person
they're
did
not
quit.
here anymore.
Exactly.
They're not here anymore. So they haven't been here. I'll just rephrase it. They haven't been here since November 22. The district-wide emergency plan by the state and by state ed identifies them as a critical person, but we don't have them, nor are we looking to hire one. Why is that?
That I don't have a response to, except I'll just say this, that we have to look at our budget. We have to look at everything to see whether or not we want to replace that particular person. So that much I can't say.
I hope you'll get back to me the next meeting with a better answer. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other community input regarding non-agenda items? Just give your name to Ms. Bawatsi and your address.
Good night, everyone. My name is Daphne. I'm Baptiste. I just have a question about the invoice that you received. What is that process of if you do have to pay that individual back? Where does that funding come from? And what does that process look like?
Dr. Talbot,
Yes. Thank you for your question. There is a checks and balances, and there is a procedure that should be followed internally in school districts when making purchases. I'm going to ask our business official to kind of walk you through that
Okay.
as to how it should have gone.
If a purchase order was set up and a purchase order really encumbers money, encumber money means setting the money aside at that point in time before the order is placed. We can roll that purchase order over to subsequent years until we receive the invoice. At that time, we apply the invoice to the money set aside. But in this particular instance, because there was no purchase order set aside, we have to use the current year's budget to fulfill that obligation. That's how it works.
How do we validate that that invoice is correct? Like what, I know you said that it was science supplies, but who are the science supplies for? What school, what grade, what kind of supplies?
We went back to the company to check. We researched it thorough, and we got information about the kind of thing. And we asked the people who received it, and they said indeed they did receive it.
so just for clear, what school were the supplies going to? Was it, I think it was Park Avenue? if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
It was for Park Avenue? Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding non-agenda items?
Hello, hi. I just want to reiterate, I too am concerned about the use of the facility fees. It is disheartening, certainly when we're talking about a deficit of $110,000 that we are considering what was presented as menial fees for the residents to now pay for their kids to play T-ball and soccer and Girl Scouts, and it's very upsetting. So I really hope that that's reconsidered. I honestly don't understand how it would even work, because you're gonna go forward with a budget, you're gonna approve a budget in May, and then you're gonna implement fees. So what is the concept of how the fees would be used? And
I'm
you're
sorry.
paying attention to the timer?
No,
but-
don't worry about the
It's
time.
okay.
I'm sorry. Just, I
So
don't mean
could
to
you-
cut you off. Hold on one second. I mean,
Okay.
what was happening was that,
I mean, it's okay. I don't have that much to talk about. Could you just explain to me what would happen? Like Little League would give a check, and where would the check go? How is that applied to such a large budget for the district?
So in regards to use of facilities, it would not be an individual fee that goes to each kid if that's something the district did. It's
Mhm.
like a one fee that would go to the organization.
Right?
So it's not like, it's not
Understood.
for example, that if there's 50 kids that are doing baseball, that
Mhm.
each kid would be charged $75. That's not the concept that would be looked at. What will be looked at is an individual fee that would go to the organization, which in effect would trickle down to the kids. So we have no idea. We have not looked at any particular fee. We have not looked at what the fees would be and what they would be covered. It was the beginning of a discussion about it. More research would have to go into it to determine what the fee would be for would it be for custodial use? Would it be for air conditioner? Would it be whatever the fees may be? So I don't have those answers because we've not come up with a complete fee scale. It was just beginning of a conversation and that was it.
So if I'm not sure if I understood you earlier, but you said this was the first reading, then there would be a second reading and it could be voted on.
No, not for the use of facilities, not, so the only two policies that are on there are not connected to the use of facilities.
Okay.
So the use of, we had a policy committee meeting. At the meeting, there was a discussion about the possibility of charging a fee. And if we did it, it would be in 2024 because we wanted to speak, not we, but we were going to have them speak to all the stakeholders who have been using the fields, as well as the Board of Education.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, there was also discussion about meal reimbursement, and I was curious if that was the per diem rate for Suffolk County, because it seems like it's more, $75. So I was wondering why we were looking at meal reimbursement that would be more than a per diem rate.
So the $75 and please, and I may pass it over to you, Dr. Talbot, but $75 is for all 3 meals, not just 1 meal. So for breakfast, lunch and
So is
dinner.
it in line with the per diem? Is that
Very close.
Yes.
very close?
Yes.
Is it, I think it's
More?
below. Is it below it, I believe?
I haven't checked it because it changes
Right.
and it depends on the region that you're talking about. New York City may be different from Nassau County and, Washington.
But shouldn't it
DC.
be like for the state that you're traveling to?
Mm,
That's a good point, because
point.
when we are going to Washington DC, which is, or Florida, we have to find a medium point, which would address most of the needs of all the places that our
Mhm.
employees will travel to.
Okay.
So usually what happens is that for most companies, it's a flat fee for meals. So even if you're traveling to another state, that the total meals cost a lot more. All you're going to get is whether it's going to be $75 or $100, and that you have to work with that for all 3 meals.
Yes, I actually am a consultant, so I travel for work but I do it by where I'm traveling to, and it's not $75, but, okay, so, there was 2 other things. The Warrior name, where do we stand with that? Because I saw there's new apparel being sold that still has Warriors. So what's the-
Dr. Talbot, if you want to address that question.
Sure. The district has agreed to enter into litigation to fight to keep the name Warrior. We have until June of 2025 to continue to use the name Warrior. At that time, or before that time, the State Department will make a decision. Legal will make a decision, or by June 2025, we have to let it all go. So the district is in litigation to continue to utilize the name Warrior. And so if there's apparel being sold, it's acceptable at this time.
Okay, thank you. I didn't realize that, and I was at a meeting where there was discussion about deciding if the litigation was gonna outweigh or be less than just going forward with the change that was recommended by the state, and there was a decision that we should pay legal fees to keep the Warrior name.
So go ahead, Dr. Talbot.
So some years ago, the district did take some proactive steps to alleviate and remove indigenous imagery around the district.
Sure.
There's still some existing that we've not yet removed, but the plan is to move forward as we budget for those expenditures. And in the interim, there was a logo contest that took place, I believe, in 2018 that produced the capital A with the Warriors that goes across it. And so that has been the district's logo since 2018, and that's what we've been using. So in good faith, the district has taken some great steps to enter into compliance as it pertains to the imagery. But the move has been to maintain the name.
And so the answer,
Warrior.
the other part of it too is the fact that there's a limit to what we're gonna spend for the legal portion of it. And once if we get close to the limit, then the board will make a decision whether we're gonna continue or not continue. And it's challenging because it's gonna cost, I think we're up to like $400,000 roughly to remove everything, to change the uniforms, and what the total cost will be for litigation if we went all the way through could be about the same amount. So we're gonna take it step by step. And when we get to the point, if we feel that we don't want to go any further, then we'll stop if it's going to cost the district more money. So we're only going up to a certain amount, and then from that point, we'll go from there. I think the amount is like $17,000 at this point in time. Yeah. So we only spend about not only, but 5,000 was spent, but I think the max roughly is 17.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't seem like a lot of money, $17,000 to get through a litigation with the state. But okay, thank you. The middle school renovation, does the community, will we expect an update on the plan and where we stand with that?
Dr. Talbot?
Sure, I'm going to ask OT to kind of give us an update on that, and or trustee Heller.
Yes, we just had a meeting with the end users today, with the architects and the team of technology, because it includes camera replacement. We just had the meeting this afternoon. After that, we are going to relook at the plans and specs and see what tweaks we have to make before we submit it to the state education department. There's a 12-week waiting period before we receive the plans and specs back, before we can put it on the market for bid. And then we are planning, if everything works out according to schedule, to do it in June, July of next year.
Thank you. So this year's budget has a certain amount of money in it for the project. Do you know where the project stands in relation to that estimate?
Good question. We have to finish all the tweaks in the plans and then come up with a good tight estimate. With that tight estimate, we go to the market and then we see what the bid will come up to.
Will the community see the plans and specs?
If you want to see it, you are welcome to come and see it. Sure.
You don't have it electronically that the community can see the plans and specs? No?
If we are able to have electronic
We will share it.
plans, we can certainly upload that to the website.
Yes.
We'll follow up.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you. Any other community input regarding non-agenda items?
Hi.
On the time.
I just have to say, these great questions tonight, and really as a board, you should be happy that the community is so engaged. I'm really happy about this. The standard per diem in 2023 for most states is $157. That comes to $98 a day for lodging and $59 for meals and incidentals, just because that came up. I want to go back to the facilities policy that you're considering. You know, the letter that you put out does say, you know, prior to our rollout, words matter, right? And the way it reads is if you're going to move forward with this. So I think it's important to choose words wisely. As I said before, usually if 51% of any roster, adults or kids, is of the home district, you don't charge because it's double taxation. So when you're saying it's a flat fee, right, you're not going to charge per kid. That doesn't make any sense. But what we're trying to say is it's an indigent community. Families struggle. Whatever you're going to impose on the organization will trickle down to parents. You should really want the kids to be, part of these things. It gets them off the street. It's a great participation. You have great mentors in the community and coaches. We want them to play sports. We want them to be in scouts. We want them to do in these leadership programs. And I think it's really a terrible move for minimal amount of money, minimal revenue. Again, like what is really the benefit here? We talk about spending $100,000 on 3 conferences, $100,000 for about 12 staff. Think about that. Maybe do one less conference and you can cover the nominal fees for the organizations. As board members, it's problem solving. Just because somebody says we should implement a schedule fee, the board does not say, okay. The board should be pushing back and advocating for the very children you represent and the community you represent. So I hope that you will consider that. And I hope that you will not implement fees for the children's sake and even for the adults, these adults that are part of these clubs too. If they don't live here, okay, fine, give them a fee. But if they live here, I mean, it's great that they want to use the facilities and stuff. And by the way, it's grass, it's not turf. I mean, we have to get a grip on this wear and tear. It's grass. That's it.
Thank you. Any other community input regarding non-agenda items? Just come give your name and your address.
Good evening. I'm here at this meeting and,
Just, excuse me, just bring the mic up.
Yes. I'm here at this meeting and I heard a question about what was the vision of the new superintendent. I think at a prior meeting, she expressed that there was going to be a new vision, a new spirit, and improvement. From what I understand and what I've seen, there's a spirit, a positive spirit. And if you speak to some of the teachers, that's what they say. As far as improvements, I'm sure they're going to appear and they will happen. Some of the things, perhaps maybe that some of the other community members feel that they must come to board meetings and address the board. Some of the issues are not necessarily meant to be at a board meeting. One more reference, turf refers to grass. Thank you.
Any other community input on non-agenda items? Seeing none, I'm gonna, for Board of Education comments, I cannot reiterate once again about that policy use of facilities. It's in discussion only. There's been no final decision that has been made about use of facilities. So I just need to reiterate that particular thing. Go ahead, Ms. Kretz.
The facilities policy, whatever it's being
Use of
called,
facilities.
the use of facilities right now, it just came to the board. It was at a policy meeting. Not all board members are on the policy committee. And we heard actually after it was posted on social media. And we all got right back on the phone and what's going on. And this was the first meeting we were all together and we heard more about it. Nothing has been set in stone and we haven't voted on anything. We've hardly even discussed it. We've had a lot of other issues. So I just wanted to make sure the community knew that.
And I think just for one clarification, when we have a policy committee meeting, we cannot have the entire board there because that will be a quorum. That's why we only have 3 board members who attend the policy committee meeting. If all 7 are there, it becomes a quorum and becomes a meeting. Mr. Heller?
Well, no, just to agree with Ms. Kretz said. I mean, other than some false information being put out on social media, the board knew absolutely nothing about this. We had no discussion on it, and we will have discussion as time goes on. So as far as people spreading rumors about that we are doing this and we're charging so much per child and blah, 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 it's a bunch of nonsense. So until you hear it from this board, don't believe what you read and what you hear. Going back to the name change. Okay, there's 13 other districts on Long Island that are part of these lawsuits. Okay, and there's a very, very good chance that we will win. And we have to wait for New York State regions to open up their eyes to understand that these names that have been connected to these different districts, whether it's the Massapequa Chiefs or the Amityville Warriors, have been here for so many years. So, that's another thing that we don't have to really get too overly concerned and worked up about. We've talked about it at some public meetings already, and, we will bring you the proper information. When you hear it from us, it will be the truth. As far as the facilities renovation that's going to happen at the middle school, today is the first meeting that I actually set my eyes on a set of plans. And most of this work that's going to be done is just renovation of existing classrooms, getting rid of different product that should not be in these classrooms. We have to update our heating system. These schools were built in 1961. And so a lot of the equipment is way, way overdue to be replaced. It's not a big cosmetic project that we're doing. We're not doing a large addition onto the side of the building or something like that. We're doing only what needs to be done to make it a proper and safe environment for the children. Anyone of the residents that would like to get involved can certainly give me a call, and I will work along with them, with the school district and our superintendent of business. So before everyone gets really all worked up about things that they don't have the proper information on, they should come to the meetings. They should listen to what's going on instead of criticizing and always accusing us of doing something. This $110,000 was done by an administration that we had to get rid of. We got rid of the person who ordered this equipment without a purchase order. There's only a certain amount of things you can do as a board member in any school district. So please, just be patient. Things are getting done little by little. We're changing things around. We're trying to make them better, especially for all of our children, and to give our taxpayers the best bang for the buck. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn at 8:57?
So moved. Second.
Leslie Kretz is first, Jeanette Santos is second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye,
Aye.
motion carries 5-0. Thank you for coming out tonight.